My children did not invite me to their weddings or important events. I think it's because they already have people they consider family. Their father, my ex-husband, remarried his affair partner. My biological children got married and had children, but I'm not very close with their stepmother. Suddenly, they asked me to take on the role of a grandmother. I am often described as insensitive and hold grudges. I understand that they want to involve me because my business has now become successful and is making a substantial profit. However, I was discarded by them. So what I did was, it was 8 years ago. I was 56 years old, and my husband, Michael, was 52. Michael had an affair with a friend of his from university. When I discovered the affair, it had already been going on for a year. I immediately left the house and decided to get a divorce. Our marriage was already in a dire state. My husband felt that I wasn't earning enough as a high school softball coach, and despite my hard efforts, he continually complained about everything I did. We frequently fought, and I felt that divorce was an inevitable issue for our relationship. At that time, our 2 children were already adults and independent, so I saw no reason to stay. As our relationship deteriorated, I felt that divorce was the only option, but unfortunately, my relationship with my children also worsened significantly after the divorce. They sided with their father, repeatedly trying to convince me that the affair was due to his boredom with me. Michael was dissatisfied with the monotony of life over the years, and after the children moved out, minor disputes increased, and it was clear he was unfulfilled. I was also facing a very tough economic period and was emotionally and physically exhausted, so I thought divorce was the best choice. Yet, I couldn't understand why the children were desperately trying to get me to forgive Michael. Despite his issues, I never acted in betrayal. In fact, with every argument, I tried to appease him and make him feel special. However, I doubt how much my efforts meant to him. Moreover, I felt a strong resentment towards my children's attitude in trying to persuade me to accept him again, which led to conflicts. As a result, for a while after the divorce, my children completely distanced themselves from me, and our relationship was severed. When the divorce was finalized, I remember feeling an intense loneliness and emptiness like never before. Especially painful was the fact that just 2 months after the divorce, Michael remarried the woman he had an affair with. This event was a significant shock to me, and I felt a constriction in my chest. Additionally, I had almost no contact with my children during that time, and even when I tried to reconnect, it didn't go as planned. Although they seemed to accept me superficially, I couldn't tell where their true feelings lay. Therefore, I couldn't help but doubt whether my children genuinely forgave and accepted me. As proof, they hadn't invited me to any milestone events in their lives for several years. In fact, until early this year, there was almost no interaction between me and the children. They probably approached me suddenly because a business I started with friends a few years ago had recently begun to succeed. I am now doing well in my business. That's why I feel they are now coming around to my side. As a background, I had been working as a coach in a high school club for many years, which was a tough environment with low pay and long hours. A friend of mine worked at another school, and both of us were in financially difficult situations. When considering retirement, we exchanged opinions with others and decided to establish our facility, believing that we could continue to mentor children using our past experience. Coaching was our area of expertise, and we had substantial track records. Believing that we could utilize those skills in business, we decided to make it our new career after retirement. We invited another friend who had strong business management skills to start this venture with us. Honestly, I didn't expect much success at the beginning. However, the business is now doing well, and I feel proud and confident about the progress we've made. Our facility has a good reputation in the community, and we plan to expand it further in the near future. My children must have heard about the success of this business. They reached out to me at the beginning of this year and began to show an attitude of reconciliation. Initially, I was overjoyed that they were finally trying to reintegrate me into their lives. I thought they had finally understood and accepted me. At that time, I didn't think they had any other ulterior motives. They just visited me a few days ago. My eldest son, Chris, and my daughter, Jenny, are both married. Chris got married 6 years ago, and Jenny 4 years ago, but I was not invited to either of their weddings. They told me the reason I was not invited to their weddings or significant events is because their father and his new wife would be present, which would make the atmosphere uncomfortable. I was terribly shocked when I heard this. They told me they wanted to avoid any commotion at the wedding and promised to make it up to me someday. However, that promise was never fulfilled. Still, I continued to believe and wait for the day when my children would recognize me as a parent, just like their father. I thought the day had finally come when they needed me. But the real reason they recently visited was that they knew my business was successful. They wanted me to be more involved with my grandchildren and also asked for financial support. At that moment, I finally understood everything. I was so overwhelmed with anger that it was hard to control my emotions, but I just answered that I would consider it. The children seemed satisfied and left, but soon after, I blocked all means of communication with them. It was clear they were after my money. Chris has 2 children, 5 and 1 years old, and Jenny just had a daughter about 6 months ago. Surprisingly, I have never seen my grandchildren's faces. It's been 5 years since my first grandchild was born, and we have never met. Honestly, it's very painful. I have asked Chris to bring the children over or invited them to meet. When Jenny had her daughter, I offered to visit. However, their response was always the same. We would rather not meet up with you, as it would be awkward with Dad and his wife around. They would say to refuse me. Each time, I reluctantly gave up, but it was truly heartbreaking. And now, they are asking me to take on the role of a grandmother? I suspect this is because their financial situation has worsened. I had not been fully aware of their circumstances before, so I had not completely cut off my relationship with my children. I usually don't keep in touch with relatives and have no interest in family gossip. However, the sudden change in my children's attitude when they visited after a long time made me suspect something was wrong. To resolve my doubts, I asked around about their recent circumstances. As a result, I learned that my children have been in a very difficult financial situation for the past few years, and their relationship with their stepmother has deteriorated significantly. I was very surprised when I found out. After my ex-husband's remarriage, my children posted photos showing them having a very good relationship with their stepmother. However, it turns out that relationship is now falling apart, and I heard she plans to sell the motorcycle company she owns. After the remarriage, my children were working for her company. Although I can't be certain, I suspect that their emphasis on siding with their father during the divorce was not really to protect him but to ingratiate themselves with their stepmother. They didn't need to try to win me over. I believe they understood that I was naturally a kind mother. Perhaps they thought securing a job at their stepmother's company through the divorce was a strategic move. The children accepted their father's affair partner as a new family and found their place close to their stepmother. I had no idea about these circumstances and hadn't considered them. However, it seems the company run by their stepmother has not been doing well in recent years. She intends to sell the company, but my children want her to continue running it. She is the owner and stands to make the most profit from the sale, and it was fortunate that a buyer was found. However, my children, as shareholders and part of the management, would clearly lose their jobs with the sale, so they are opposed to it. They hope for a long-term vision for the company's future. This issue is already known to many relatives. Michael often exaggerates, so he has complained about this to almost everyone. Therefore, it's not surprising to anyone that there is now a dispute within their family. I think that's why Chris and Jenny came to ask for my help. I haven't hidden the fact that my business is doing well. I advertise, and word of mouth is spreading successfully. After talking with some relatives and understanding the whole situation, I decided to continue blocking my children's contacts. After the divorce, I wasn't very interested in my children's lives. They weren't interested in mine either. Now, they are only reaching out to me because they need help. I feel foolish for hoping they would realize their mistake and apologize. Yet, a few days after I blocked them, they showed up at my house again. When I said I didn't intend to talk, they demanded to be let into the house. I told them I knew what was going on between them, their family, and their stepmother. I had realized that they came here seeking financial help. Originally, they abandoned me because their stepmother was in a position to provide them with a stable job. However, I couldn't bring myself to accuse them of betrayal. As a retaliation for cutting off contact, they began to blame me, calling me heartless and vindictive. However, it seems they didn't have any intention of taking revenge on me. After all, I am their mother, and they realized they couldn't prioritize me over Michael, so they just wanted to improve our relationship. They also explained that their reason for asking for financial support was not merely because I am wealthy, but for the sake of their children. They expressed dissatisfaction with the fact that I had come to such a conclusion because of irresponsible rumors from relatives. This incident happened a few days ago, and it shocked me so much that I couldn't go to work for a while. Now, I can't help but reflect on what I am doing. Whether I think logically or emotionally, I can't believe that my relatives are lying to me or trying to gain something from me. Moreover, my relatives have always been kind to me. Especially after the divorce, they were concerned about me, and I really felt supported by them. Therefore, it's hard to believe that they are lying or just gossiping. They just answered what I asked. I did the research on this situation myself. Still, I am undecided about whether I should give my children a chance to repair our relationship and provide them with some financial support. After all, I am managing on my own and getting by just fine. If I do decide to support them, it would only be temporary, as I do not wish for a long-term relationship. They will probably find new jobs after the company is sold, and I think they are just asking for my support for the sake of their young children. We haven't specifically discussed whether they are seeking an investment, a loan, or just goodwill. Either way, I understand that financial support is part of it, and despite it being just a fraction, I do feel a desire to reconnect and rebuild a relationship with my children. When they recently came to my house and talked about their current situation, I faced an unexpected turn of events and am really unsure about how to proceed. I am always stressed and worry that I am making a huge mistake by keeping my children out of my life, or that I have become a heartless and vindictive person, as they claim. If I act according to my pride, I don't know if there is a chance to rebuild a good relationship with my family again. What's holding me back now is the fear that I am being used. I truly want to avoid such a situation. I really don't know what to think now. I am completely at a loss and don't have anyone to talk to freely about this issue. That's why I am struggling so much. Please understand that I am just an elderly person who has been mostly alone and searching for a direction in life since the divorce. I hate to admit it, but I deeply miss my children and wish they were in my life. However, now I finally understand why they preferred Michael and his new wife. I have also talked about this issue with my colleagues during breaks at work. They knew the history, but when I told them the facts I recently learned, they were all surprised. Initially, they thought my children were influenced by Michael and said that I had to get back at him. If they were truly asking for money for their children's sake, I wasn't thinking of asking them to pay me back. But they have never brought my grandchildren to me, nor have they allowed me to visit them. Then why should I need to be involved with anyone? It might sound cold, but I cannot sympathize with all these children I don't even know and give money like a donation. That's why what I did to them was. And 2 weeks have passed, and during work, Chris and Jenny brought their children to my workplace, causing a scene at the reception wanting to meet me. I was focused on a training, so I had them directed to my office and asked them to wait quietly in the lobby. After about 30 minutes, when my training session ended, I finally returned to the office and met with them. I felt it was necessary to teach them that it is inappropriate to expect me to make time for them anytime they show up at my workplace unannounced. Just because they came to see me during training doesn't mean that anyone can easily meet me. If others wait until I finish my work to meet, it goes without saying that they should be treated the same. I felt it was really foolish of them to expect special treatment from me just because they are my children. Far from being treated specially as a mother, I have never been treated well by them in the past, and considering that they decided to bring their children, it made even less sense to think so. It was their choice to act together with their children, and for me, who was meeting my grandchildren for the first time and actually trying to build a relationship, becoming like a grandmother was an extremely difficult decision to consider. In the end, I refused their proposal. I told them that I had to go home because I had finished the final training session of the day. After that, I just wanted to go home and relax. Also, it was clear what they were aiming for. They were using my grandchildren to try to win me over. But it ended in failure. Even if I am told that I should give them another chance, I think I understand their intentions well enough. They kept saying they wanted another chance. I told them it was too late. The moment I first saw my grandchildren, I immediately felt affection for them. They were all so adorable, and I kept thinking how I wished I could have met them under different circumstances. But ultimately, the responsibility lies with their parents. After our argument, they at least pleaded with me to properly listen to their side of the story. They started to say that they wanted a chance to talk about being pushed away. If that was their claim, they should have left the place themselves instead of making me do it, because I was indeed sick of them and really just wanted to go home and relax. I think they could feel that. Eventually, they left saying that I was cold-hearted and that my ego would trouble me, but that was not a problem for me at all. I just wanted to go home and relax, so I did just that. It's been 24 hours since then, and I still haven't unblocked their contacts. I don't think I ever will. That day, they tried to reconcile with me, but they were very angry about the stance I took. After some thinking, they finally realized that they had treated me the same way all along. They also admitted that everything I had heard was true and not irresponsible rumors. When I accused them of choosing their stepmother over me because she could offer them stable jobs, they were just a bit shocked. They cannot prevent their stepmother from deciding to sell the company because it is entirely up to her. Currently, they are trying to start a new business on their own, and they asked me for investment, but I decided to involve several investors to avoid financial risk. Initially, I was unsure what to do because their relationship with their stepmother wasn't going well, but I could definitely sense their determination. Honestly, I thought it might be my fault, but I strongly felt that I did not want to repeat the past. Also, I want to build a good relationship with my grandchildren, so I feel the need to be cautious. Whatever conclusion I come to, I plan to consider things after taking some time. I want to take some distance from this issue for now, so I probably won't have much to say for the next few days to weeks. Some time has passed since then. And a few days ago, I finally responded to my children through email, telling them they are welcome to have dinner at my house this weekend with their spouses and my grandchildren. In the same email, I also made it clear that I would not invest in their business. They had expected financial support from me until now, but they did not bring it up again. They appreciated my effort to build a relationship with my grandchildren and happily accepted my invitation for dinner. Thanks to that, we were able to have a pleasant time together. Their spouses are all wonderful people, and everyone apologized for the past incidents, saying they were looking forward to a fresh start with me. I feel the same way.